Snowmobiling can be an unbelievable sport, but it can also be incredibly frustrating. Today we're going to talk about common mistakes that snowmobilers, riders make and how to fix them. Let's get into it. All right guys, before I forget, thank you so much for all your support of the channel. You guys remember, you can really help us with this channel by subscribing. Keep those subscriptions coming. Anyway, we're talking about these common mistakes that riders make. Before we get going, we have to remember that when we're just starting out, when we're just learning this sport, suddenly what is this amazing piece of machinery becomes this really heavy sort of hide-to-bed couch that we're trying to control. And you guys are smiling as you're watching because you all kind of agree that when you don't know what you're doing with it, it does get really heavy, it gets very taxing, you're very tired, you get frustrated, all of those things. So these are things that we see commonly happening, and we're gonna try to make some improvements with that. So our number one, guys, and if you've been to next level, you would remember that our number one mistake that we make is we forget to breathe. If I am riding and I am holding my breath, heck, if I'm doing just about anything and I'm holding my breath, we are slowing the flow of oxygen to the brain. It's making decisions that would potentially seem pretty easy, very difficult, and we're holding our breath. We're not doing ourselves any good. So you got to remember to sing in your helmet, talk to yourself, as I do quite often, and you're breathing. So breathe while you're riding. That's going to be very helpful. That's number one. We didn't really need to show me riding around not breathing. The second one, and this one is very common. Again, you've come to next level. If I can see your visor, I know where you're looking. So looking down. I don't care how good you think you are, that you can stare at your snowmobile. Trust me, we've all seen the wrap. It's fantastic. We've seen your sled. We don't need to look at it while we're riding. If I am looking down, I am a reactive rider. I don't want to react to changes in terrain. I don't want to react to the hill that I'm about ready to go up. I want to anticipate that. And the only way I know how to anticipate changes in the environment, changes in the terrain, and all of those things is to stay looking ahead. I can be an anticipated rider while I'm looking ahead. The third one, and this is a really big one on the safety side of things, is not riding with at least that one finger on the brake. Having one finger on the brake, ready to apply brake when I need it, is really important. You can imagine you're in the trees, you're in the thick of it, you've got to give the sled a lot of momentum, a lot of throttle, and then all of a sudden the sled does something funky and it's headed right into a tree. A finger on the brake, we can make it a lot safer by being able to apply brake instantaneously. Within that same nanosecond that, whoa, something just happened, boom, I can just tap brake. If I am riding and I've got all hands here on the handlebar and I've either got to reach for one finger to get to the brake, and or what I see most commonly, all fingers out onto the brake. A lot of times we've traveled way too far, and if that was into a situation where I was going into an obstacle, chances are I've already hit it. So practicing riding with one finger on the brake nearly at all times is a really important one, and it's one we see a lot of people fail at. We talk about you're holding your breath, you're looking down, you're not using the brake properly. Another big one, guys, is, when you ride a snowmobile, it's a pretty balanced machine. When you're riding down the trail, you can stand up, you're in the neutral position, as I call it. You could sit down and ride, and you can just steer the thing. When we get off trail, especially in deeper snow and in off-camber situations, another common mistake is we see people still trying to ride the sled as if they were on a trail. So we have to get into positions where we're either on one side or the other of the sled. And here's some common mistakes. We get over here and we use this thing. So the mountain bar, guys, but this is certainly not some sort of crutch where I'm doing this butt out hug, racing across. I almost feel like I'm in like a windsurf position, but I do call this the butt out hug, like you're hanging on to somebody here. This is a position, guys, where, and you guys, you're gonna see from the video on the opposite side of the throttle, but it doesn't matter. I have had people that say, well, when I wanna do it this way, here's where my lefty throttle comes in. We're not doing that either. At any time when I am riding the sled and I am not hanging onto the handlebars, I would say that that's a position of being out of control, unless I'm going slow. The other one is foot position. So if my feet are on the running board, you can tell that I've got if I'm standing on the sled, I went from neutral over to here. I've got my left foot on this side, my right foot here. All too often I see people switched where they're like this. So whether they got from this position or into this position because they were in an opposite forward move, and then they just put this foot here, you can tell what's happened. My hips are away from the sled And I am literally like walking on a tightrope right here. I don't have any balance. I certainly don't have control over the snowmobile. So this is a very common one and one we see a lot. Our foot position should be here with our knee into the seat and or into the gas tank. And then depending on the situation I'm in, this knee in my left leg could be even up here into the console piece. All I'm doing is creating points of contact to create more control. I can be in this position and or in an opposite foot forward position, my knee into the tank or the seat. Again, I am now hips with the direction of the snowmobile, and I've squared up my shoulders facing the direction of the snowmobile. This is a position of control. All right, guys, so another common mistake that we see people doing is anytime you're riding off trail in deep snow, in an off-camber situation, chances are you need to side hill the snowmobile. So you need to put it in a side hill position. But all too often, I'll see guys that are here, they're steering into the slope, they're trying to put as much emphasis on the inside of this ski as they can, and yet the sled is still wanting to track in the direction that the snow or the environment or the fall line is taking them. And they'll just continue to do this when the position I need to be, and you can tell, this is a lot of work. I'm putting a ton of effort into this when I could be in a counter steered position, opposite foot forward. Now I'm driving that sled up here. Now I have control over it, and I'm giving that sled direction away from that terrain and into the direction I want to go. And right here, guys, to initiate into this position, it's very helpful to blip the throttle to get that sled to do what you want it to do. So another common mistake that we see all of the time is when riders are coming up to a hill. So it's not just about body position as we climb a hill, it's also about anticipating momentum. I see riders all the time that will approach a hill, they're actually going nice and slow, and then as they hit the hill, boom, that burst of throttle. Let's remember that a snowmobile, we want it to sit up on top of the snow. It was designed to get up on top of the snow. If I wait until I'm at the base of this hill or the base of anything steep to give it gas, I'm kind of defeating the purpose. The snowmobile is going to immediately want to trench, and as it trenches, the front end comes up, and now I've lost my steering. So before we talk about body position, we need to talk about momentum. Momentum needs to be built and maintained throughout the entire hill climb process. So if I'm on a slope or if I'm getting ready to go up a slope, I am anticipating that momentum, giving that sled what I think is the necessary throttle, so as I hit the slope, I can maintain that momentum, keeping that sled from trenching too bad. And it also allows me to build that momentum past my buddy, which is what we want. All right, so now that we've built momentum, we've anticipated how much speed we need, and we're not going to wait until the base of the hill. We've built that momentum, we're up on the hill. Let's remember that here's the common mistake. My feet were here as I came up to the hill, they stay there. So now I'm headed up this hill, and you can see what happens. I go from an aggressive position of being on the balls of my feet, and I'm leaning forward, to suddenly now I'm going up a hill. Now I'm feeling this pressure on my heels, and I'm actually leaning back a bit. As I lean back, combined with throttle, sled starting to trench a bit, you see this happening. Guys are going up and they're wondering why I have no direction or control over the snowmobile when it's a body position fail. All I need to do, guys, is put my feet back and keep my body forward. So I try and tell people or instruct riders that as I go up a hill, I'm trying to keep my body plumb to the hillside. So I'm not leaning back. It's not an exaggerated like I'm doing a push-up here, but I certainly want to keep my feet back and my body, my center of mass, forward. You can tell what happens. As I go up the hill, body stays more plumb to the slope. I'm able to apply pressure forward, keeping my skis and my carbides specifically into the snow. Now I have some control. Now I can make decisions as terrain changes, things like that. Combine that with the right momentum, and now we're hill climbing. Up here, no control. Back here, I've got some control. Another common mistake is not having confidence in your riding. When we talk about the things that we just did, so we talk about these common things like you're holding your breath, you're looking down as you ride, you're not riding with one finger on the brake, you're not building momentum going up to a hillside, your body position is in the wrong spot, when you're side hilling, you're hanging onto a mountain bar. All of those things, guys, as we start to remedy those and really start to build confidence, riding with confidence, it really will change your riding. Not allowing the snowmobile to just do what it wants to do. As terrain changes in front of you, instead of just accepting that that's the direction that the sled is going to go, because I will refer to a snowmobile sometimes as like a big dumb beach ball, but it's a 500-pound beach ball. It could literally just drive you wherever it's going to go, and it will most of the time just follow the fall line. So building confidence and exploring that. So remember that I can't teach confidence, I can instill it, but you yourself as a rider, that's what you have to go out and do. You have to practice by remedying these mistakes that we make, start riding and doing these things the right way, and over time that will build confidence. So instead of, as I'm riding around staring at all these obstacles in front of me, I'm actually looking at the open spaces in between, and now guess what? All of a sudden I'm riding in the trees, but I'm doing it with confidence. You guys, I really hope that this video helped you, pointing out some of those mistakes. Hopefully you guys had a couple of laughs, looking down, butt out hug, all of those things. Remember, it's going to take practice. It's not something you learn overnight. You have to dedicate a big chunk of your winter into learning how to develop these fundamentals. But once you do and you start building that confidence, I promise you, snowmobiling will become that sport that is a lot less frustrating and actually very gratifying and a lot of fun. All right, everyone, before I sign off, remember, I appreciate your questions and comments. Leave those comments about this video. I want to know some of the fails that you guys have had and some of the successes. If you do have questions, leave those below. We'll try to get them answered as quickly as you can. And again, we are always looking for support of the channel. Nail that subscribe button. You guys, honestly, we are always looking for content. So if there is a video that I'm not showing that you want to see, especially now that we're on snow, put those videos or put those ideas in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.